This is ABC15 Mornings.
Now at 6, wind whipping up the flames. Multiple wildfires burning across Arizona this morning. We'll have a live look for you as firefighters work to keep those flames from spreading.
And COVID-19 on the rise yet again in Arizona. More than 1,000 new cases have been reported for the 4th day in a row.
A symbol of unity in Phoenix. The LGBTQ and Black communities joining to march on the Arizona state capitol, all calling for an end to police violence. We want to say thank you for kicking off your Sunday morning with us. I'm Nohelani Graff.
And I'm Mark Thompson, social distancing from home. And no, hey, it really is true that your body becomes a little bit more acclimated to the heat the longer that you live here, because I'm not struggling as much outside. And when I'm inside, I don't have to have the air condition set so low where I'm getting cold.
Yeah, it really is funny how fast you do acclimate and how all of a sudden seeing temperatures in the 70s in the morning, you're like, let me run outside. It's nice and cool and crisp out there. When really, no, it's not in the 50s. What are we thinking? But it is nice out there right now. So if you can, get outside. Take that coffee onto your patio. Listen to us through the patio doors because it is nice outside. We've got some Valley cities in the 60s this morning, 78 by 7 o'clock. And staying just in the low 80s through that 8 o'clock hour. It's actually going to take us until 10 to warm into the 90s. However, we do have a serious aspect to talk about for our weather today. We have fire weather alerts across northern Arizona, fire weather watch across northwestern Arizona, everywhere you see in tan, and then another red flag warning in places like Flagstaff, Winslow, Heber, and Window Rock. That means hot, dry conditions and winds, making it easy for a wildfire to spark and spread. So we'll talk more about our wildfire risk, plus how hot we will get here in the valley. That's coming up in just a little bit.
All right, no, hey, thank you. And developing this morning, an investigation is underway after a shooting in the parking lot of a bar that's near 83rd Avenue in Peoria. Officials on the scene told our crews that they did take someone into custody after a short chase, and that victim has life-threatening injuries. So far, no word on what led up to that shooting.
We do have a traffic alert for you this morning. Miller Road in Scottsdale is closed between Chaparral and East Vista Drive because of an accident involving a golf cart and another vehicle. We are working to get more information on any injuries.
Now to our wildfire watch this morning. Several fires burning this morning. This is a live look at the fire that sparked yesterday off of the Beeline Highway. As of last night, it had burned about 600 acres. Crews do have that road shut down right now as they try to get that fire under control. And another fire burning near Cave Creek Road and Sonoran Desert Road in North Phoenix. That's near the Cave Buttes recreational area. It sparked last night and has burned about 27 acres. It is now 50% contained. And right now, the Bighorn Fire rages in South Arizona. It forced more people out of their homes near the Catalina foothills. One big problem is our hot and dry and windy weather. It's making it difficult for firefighters. And wildfire concerns in Flagstaff as well. After a tractor trailer caught fire, that fire spread fast because of the high winds and did put some buildings in jeopardy, but crews, they were able to get those flames out fairly quickly.
And you know, officials are reminding us this morning that we can help to make sure that these fires don't even start in the first place. While nature does cause some of them, state fire officials remind us that a majority are caused by people. Oftentimes, you might even not know that it was your actions that could be contributing to the fire risk. Things like not making sure a campfire is fully out, having a chain dragging behind your truck, or pulling over while driving through very dry areas.
Doesn't seem, wow, could that start a fire? But you have a grassy area on the side of a road, you have a hot engine, and you have a hot exhaust. You pull over onto that grassy area, you're going to light it up. So there's a lot of things, ways people can get these fires started, and people need to be conscious of it and aware of it.
It's just that easy, and sometimes you don't even realize, even after you've pulled away, that you've left a spark that starts smoldering and the wind carries it. And of course, our most accurate weather team always monitoring the fire danger. You can always find the very latest on abc15.com/weather. To national headlines now. The officer accused of shooting a black man after getting in a struggle at a fast food restaurant has been fired, and another officer has been placed on administrative duty. Atlanta's police chief resigned on Saturday after video of that deadly shooting went viral. ABC's Rena Roy has the story.
Protesters gathered outside the Atlanta Wendy's late Saturday night, reportedly setting the fast food restaurant on fire, where 27-year-old Rayshard Brooks died at the hands of police officers. Authorities in Georgia are scouring through videos of that violent struggle that turned deadly Friday night, when officials say police shot and killed Brooks after he allegedly resisted arrest.
I don't want anyone in any circumstances to rush to any form of judgment. It's very easy to do in these cases on either side. We realize there's a tremendous amount of emotion.
Officers were called to the parking lot around 10:30 p.m. with complaints of Brooks asleep in his car, blocking the drive-thru. Police claimed he failed a sobriety test and that when they tried to arrest him, he resisted and was able to grab an officer's taser. In this surveillance video, you can see him running away, then appearing to point the taser at the officers.
At that point, the Atlanta officer reaches down and retrieves his weapon from his holster, discharges it, strikes Mr. Brooks there on the parking lot, and he goes down.
Late Saturday, attorneys for Brooks's family say the officers didn't have to use deadly force.
He had other options than shooting a man in the back.
Atlanta Police Chief Erica Shields stepping down Saturday after calls for her resignation as protesters demand police reform and racial justice.
Chief Shields has offered to immediately step aside as police chief so that the city may move forward with urgency in rebuilding the trust so desperately needed throughout our communities.
Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
And back here at home, protests continue here in the Valley as well. Last night, there was a unity march that was calling for an end to police violence. Our Adam Waltz was there.
Unity! Unity! No justice, no peace. Black Lives Matter.
Arms locked, flags and fists on full display. The LGBTQ and black communities joining for the Arizona Unity March on the Arizona State Capitol.
About the injustice of a beautiful culture and a community.
To see the LGBT community and the black community come together is extremely important because it's not about one group or one person. It's about all of us seeing the humanity in each other.
The peaceful protests coming together at Wesley Boland Plaza, one of two protests in downtown Phoenix, the other a Juneteenth youth rally led by Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams.
I don't know, but I want to understand. If we can come to that place, we will move past the pain and the hurt and really get to the heart of the matter, and it's going to take all of us to make that happen.
Deion Johnson! Say his name! Deion Johnson!
Both rallies marking 2.5 weeks of protests since the deaths of Deion Johnson in Phoenix.
Say his name! George Floyd!
And George Floyd in Minneapolis. Organizers say until they get a seat at the table with local lawmakers,
to get in those seats! No KKK, no racist USA!
there's no signs of stopping.
This is something that every single day we have to work towards and make sure that's accomplished.
And that was Adam Waltz reporting, and it appears that cities, they are listening to some of these protests. In fact, the city of Tempe has now declared Juneteenth as an official holiday.
Also interesting of note during these protests and calls for social justice and patriotism, today is Flag Day in the United States. Now, people of all ages are joining the movement this weekend in Gilbert. In fact, families coming together to march through their neighborhoods. Organizers there say that they hope this can spur some opportunities to discuss meaningful change with children and set the groundwork for a better future.
Now for the coronavirus in our state. For a fourth straight day, more than 1,000 new cases have been reported. The latest numbers putting Arizona at nearly 34,500 cases. Here's the chart to look at, the percentage of positive tests. The jagged blue line is the percentage day to day. The yellow line reveals the trend, and that line is heading in the wrong direction with that percentage increasing. Now, many have asked us about recovery numbers. The state doesn't track that. The closest thing that we have is COVID patients being released from the hospital, and to date, that's just over 6,000 people. But keep in mind, this is only the sickest of the sick, and it doesn't incorporate those who have recovered, which is most cases.
Time now 6:10. Let's get to that most accurate forecast. If you have plans to go out and golf today, then certainly an earlier tee time is more favorable. It's sunny, it's cool, and it's really nice outside. Or even if you're just heading outdoors and heading to those early morning church services, if you're still taking part or still social distancing, take that computer outside as you listen in. Later this afternoon, if you wait for a late tee time around sunset, which is 7:39, we'll still be in the triple digits, and you'll also notice some stronger breezes, so that could complicate your golf game just a little bit. Not as strong of winds here in the valley as we saw yesterday, still notable, but up in the high country, strong once again with gusts up to 30, even 35 miles an hour in areas like Flagstaff and Sedona, slightly less in Payson, and temperatures warm, 80s in Flagstaff, low 90s in Sedona and Payson, but we do have clear skies and dry conditions statewide. I'm going to take a look at that most accurate forecast and time out the winds for you coming up in just minutes.
All right, Nohe, thank you. It's 6:11 now on your Sunday morning, and coming up, elections, they're right around the corner, and there are a whole lot of unknowns due to the coronavirus. We sat down with the Arizona Secretary of State for some answers. Welcome back, everybody. Well, the presidential election is less than 5 months away, so what's being done to protect your vote? ABC 15's Nick Saletti has more.
Voting in the middle of a pandemic. Arizona got a preview during March's presidential preference election. With a primary in August, general election in November, and a whole lot of unknowns when it comes to the coronavirus, what's being done to keep all of us safe?
My job as the chief election officer of the state to ensure that no voter has to choose between their health and their right to vote.
Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs says her team has been working with county elections officials since March to try to make sure things go off without a hitch.
Elections are not just a thing that we start thinking about a month ahead of time. There's so much planning and preparation that goes into it.
Hobbs says definitely expect more social distancing. She also wants to make sure county officials have all the protective equipment they need. And there will be a big emphasis on early voting to reduce crowds. And that includes mail-in ballots.
And the president thinks that there's a lot of fraud associated with mail-in voting. Have we seen any evidence of that here in Arizona?
Voting by mail is secure. We have a long track record of doing it successfully here. And vote by mail ballots are treated just like any other ballot. And we have statutes that provide guidance around storing and transporting and handling those things. And a mail-in ballot is tracked just like any other ballot.
I mean, I'm sure you've heard all of the different reasons why people worry about mail-in ballots. So what's your response to that about maybe forging a signature or filling it out for someone else?
You get your ballot in the mail as a registered voter, then your signature is your proof of ID. And those signatures, every single signature on every single ballot that's received in the mail or dropped off early is checked by people who are trained to check those signatures.
And Hobbs says in the past 10 years, we've seen roughly 24 cases prosecuted dealing with voter fraud.
Time now 6:15 on your Sunday morning. Want to give you another live look this morning out near the Beeline Highway where wildfire is burning. It sparked yesterday late afternoon. Firefighters working to contain those flames. Right now it covers about 600 acres and you can see the plume off in the distance there. A little hazy and you will smell that smoke across the northern portions of the valley this morning. Now, firefighters not going to get a lot of help in the way of winds today, but at least they won't be as strong here in the valley as they were yesterday. In fact, right now we don't have any notable winds out along the Beeline Highway north of Fountain Hills or in the Cave Creek area, but we do have some light breeze breezes in Scottsdale and out in Buckeye as well. And those breezes will pick up here in the valley as we move through the peak heat of the day. The strongest winds will be across the high country. Northern Arizona starting at about 11 o'clock this morning. You'll notice winds around 15 to 20 miles an hour. They get even stronger as we get toward the peak heat of the day around 2, 3 o'clock, when we could see winds around 25 miles an hour and gusts up to 30 miles an hour. Right around 2 is when our breezes really get going here in the valley. Around 10 miles an hour, could go up to 15 miles an hour, and we could see gusts around 20 miles an hour here in the valley. So really not helpful for any wildfires burning across our state. Southeastern Arizona also going to notice those winds pick up today as well. As for this morning, it's a great morning if you can to get outside. We've got clear sunny skies, Piestewa Peak live in the background there, and the temperatures are so nice out there. We've still got some 60s hanging on, 69 in Glendale. We're in the low 70s in Chandler and Goodyear right now. Mid 70s though in Mesa and Phoenix. So this is a small window of time, and we do have a toasty day ahead once again. 105 is the forecast for Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert and Queen Creek, 102 in Fountain Hills, 99 degrees in Cave Creek for today. Over in the West Valley, a high of 105 in Goodyear and Avondale, 103 at Luke Air Force Base as well as in Peoria. Anthem staying in the upper 90s for today. Temperatures across the state, we've warmed just a little bit in Flagstaff, where you started the morning off, in the 30s once again. We haven't seen that for a couple of days. Still sitting just above freezing though at the Grand Canyon. 50s in Heber and Payson this morning, so nice and crisp. If you're waking up and taking that cup of coffee outside, you still need a nice sweater. What a nice thing to think about. But we will warm up statewide today. We're looking at triple digits along our western border, 100 degrees in Lake Havasu City and Quartzsite, 104 in Gila Bend, 105 in Casa Grande, and close to that in Safford. But you will find some relief in areas like Payson in the low 90s, still pretty toasty. So if you are hiking, just make sure you've got water ready. Same with Sedona, if you're checking out the Red Rocks, coming close to 90. And north of the rim, we'll see a lot of 80s in Show Low, Heber, and Window Rock. Page and Winslow, though, staying toasty in the 90s as well. Those breezes here in the valley, as I mentioned, pick up after lunchtime, and our temperatures will get going right around lunchtime as well. We're in the 90s by 10. By 2, we've hit those triple digits and climbing. Peak heat of the day, 105, right around 4 o'clock this afternoon. And even at 8 o'clock tonight, we're still in the triple digits, so slow to cool down. Now, 104 degrees is the average temperature for this time of year, and we're pretty close to that. We're going to go a little above the average by Tuesday when we top out at 107. And we're also going to see some breezes return by the middle of the week as well. It'll get gusty once again. But those winds will help drop our temperatures just a little bit, just a few degrees. And we know that every degree counts at this time of year. So I'll show you when that happens, coming up in that 7-day forecast mark in just a little bit.
Indeed, every degree does count. No, hey, thank you so much. Well, still ahead, how businesses are working to get their employees back in the office, of course, with some new safety precautions. Plus, after weeks of protests, Phoenix police say that they are at least willing to discuss reform within the department. We'll hear from them coming up.